Good evening, I'm Dean Beck. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, the days of Commercial Road being the centre of Melbourne's gay community are long gone, replaced by a new paradigm illustrated in part by general acceptance and understanding of LGBTI people throughout society. However, we have a long way to go before we are truly equal, and LGBTI people have really had struggles along the way. Now, Victoria's Premier, Daniel Andrews, has recognised this in the lead up to the last state election, and he promised that if he was elected, he would appoint a Minister for Equality and Australia's first Gender and Sexuality Commissioner. Embedded in the Department of Premier and Cabinet, answerable to the Equality Minister Martin Foley, and the Commissioner is Rowena. Ro, thank you very much for joining me in Profile tonight.
Thanks for inviting me, Dean.
Your history in LGBTI advocacy is long and started where? In Shepparton, wasn't it?
Yeah. I took my first job in the country in Shepparton and set up the first group for same-sex attracted young people 20 years ago.
Tough place back then.
Tough place back then, and I was working for the local government, and I can remember going in the Monday after the Win television show where, you know, the new youth worker comes to town, and they did back then, and the young people came in the day after, Monday, after that aired, and said, "Great, you're here." And after I rubbed the tattoo, you know, lesbian off my head, I said, they said, we want to start a group. And at the time, the council said, that I was working for, said, no, you can't do it. Now, I've never really dealt with no very well, Dean. So I went outside that to the Youth Affairs Network in Shepparton and had them auspice the group. And then soon realised that it wasn't the only rural town in Victoria that needed support. So I went to the Youth Affairs Council Victoria and we set up a statewide network. So as a youth worker, that's the basis of my advocacy. And of course, my own coming out journey and the advocacy that took through candidating in the Uniting Church as well gave me a good foundation for that.
Tell us a bit about that, because people of a strong faith background do struggle with coming out. Was that something that was an issue for you being a part of the Uniting Church, or were they very accepting? Well,
the Uniting Church has always had a social justice bent, and I was very fortunate to be in that denomination with people that really understood equality.
It has ebbed and flowed throughout the years, hasn't it?
It is a diverse church. It is a diverse church,
sure.
Dean, and I was just very fortunate that the role models that I had at the time spotted me at a young age before I spotted myself, which is an often story, and guided me on the way. And a very special woman who was the Director of Social Justice, the Reverend Dorothy McRae-McMahon, who stays today as one of my strongest mentors and supporters, you know, did take me under her wing and say, it's not a question between your sexuality and your spirituality. And that's what I tell a lot of people. It's not always that. It hasn't always been smooth sailing, and as a young person I had my stint in an evangelical church, and, you know, I can...
And many have walked away from their faith altogether.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I've stayed because I see the importance of that. And certainly I've worked for the majority of my life for a faith-based organisation, for Uniting Care, and they've been nothing than supportive of all the work that I've done.
They're at times a pretty radical bunch, actually.
Quite cutting edge. Yeah.
Now, how did Uniting Care come to be a part of Shepparton's success story?
Well, I think the work that we did to begin with, and at that time it was very cutting edge. It was called Cutting Edge Uniting Care, and we were the first youth group in that space. But the board also allowed me to go to Melbourne and participate in the Minister Advisory Committees on Gay and Lesbian Health, which was back in the 2000s.
Was that your first introduction to sort of the political side of it?
Right, it was.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the board really understood the need to not only pull them out of the river, but go upstream and see who's pushing them in and be part of the policy development. So for my sins, I suppose, I sat on 3 of those Minister Advisory Committees, all ebbed and flowed differently under both sides of government, and chaired the one in the middle, which was where I picked a winner, I suppose, in Daniel Andrews. We did a lot of work with him. He was the Minister for Health then, and educated him on LGBTI issues, which has obviously paid off now. But, you know, they were some groundbreaking times, and you know, we were inching forward and getting policy there, but it's just taken flight now.
Back to Shepparton, the success story of Shepparton, we should tell the viewer that the LGBTI community is very much a part of the Shepparton community, and they're seen and out and proud.
That's right.
And I would like to see something like that replicated around the country, because it's just a little gold mine, actually.
It is, and you know, this weekend is the Out in the Open festival in Shepparton.
Acknowledged recently at the Globe Awards.
Absolutely. And there are really amazing people, but it wasn't an overnight success, you know.
And a lot of struggles along the way.
A lot of struggles, and you know, my own story in Shepparton. I was physically assaulted, had lemons thrown on my roof, and my car graffitied.
Wow.
So we've come a long way. When I gave birth to my daughter, I had hate mail. You know, it hasn't been an easy road.
Was that from, again, from faith communities, or was it just from the broader community?
From the broader, well, from the broader community. And it was the faith-based group up in Shepparton that got behind me and said, well, no, we're not running her out of town. These are issues. These are young people that are, you know, suicidal, and we need to be supporting and helping them. So, you know, I found Shepparton a great community, but it hasn't always been smooth sailing. And then, of course, I found other people to bring into the fold, like Damien Stevens, who's up there as Mr. Gay now, running everything. And he's just fabulous, and he's got a whole team of people around him. So it is about getting your champions and then building on that.
And is it a model that can be replicated, or is it really about those individuals wanting to own that task and run with it?
No, I think it absolutely can be replicated. Okay. I think it's easy to be the second town or the second community. I mean, we've already got Dalesford, we've got other Castlemaine, there's other friendly places. But it's really important. When the Minister offered me this role, I said to Martin Foley that I would be making sure that I went out of metropolitan Melbourne. For me, as you know, coming from the country, it's important that we go out and we go on the road. So we are hooking up the caravan and going out with Dolly Diamond and going and hitting all of the rural towns in Victoria that we can, that we're welcome to come to. And I think out of that, hopefully
the ones you're not welcome to come to are
we'll
the ones you need to go to.
Yeah, we'll go to them anyway. But I'm a big believer in the carrot and the not stick approach. You go where you're invited first, because you've got the local people that need that authorising environment. You know, I've met people in Wodonga and people in Horsham that want to do fabulous things. They just don't feel they've got enough, you know, support to do that. So the Commissioner, in my role, is you know, it's an exciting way to be able to come and give that bit of a hand.
Keep an eye out for Rose Roadshow coming to you very soon. My guest in profile tonight is Rowena Allen, Victoria's Gender and Sexuality Commissioner. After the break, we'll find out what Ro's been doing since she was appointed.